Do you know that the small decisions you make today can determine the entire course of your future? Imagine standing at a crossroads. One path leads to stability, unchanging but slow. The other is filled with challenges, risks, but it holds the potential to give you everything you've ever dreamed of. Many choose the safer route, but the successful, the wealthy, they choose the harder path. Why? Because it's those very challenges that push them to rise above. In this video, I will reveal the 7 things you must avoid if you truly want to become wealthy. Are you ready to open the door to opportunities? Keep watching to find out. Getting lost in bad advice. You've probably felt lost amidst the countless pieces of advice from family, friends, or even people around you. It's a real problem when, in this modern world, information is everywhere and everyone has a different opinion and a unique direction. Sometimes all you want is a simple answer, an easy path, but instead you find yourself lost in a maze of conflicting, impractical advice. I remember vividly when I was younger, my family always wanted me to pursue a career in banking, a stable, easy living job with a bright future. They told me the banking industry is the best choice. It not only helps you earn money, but also offers great opportunities for advancement. But you know what? My friends were advising me to become a chef. They said that being a chef would bring passion and financial freedom just as much as any other career. You could create your recipes, open a restaurant, run a catering company, or even become a TV star. Both my family and my friends had valid reasons to support their views, but I didn't know what to do. At that time, I felt like I was being swept away by a whirlwind of contradictory advice. The feeling of being lost was truly exhausting. On one hand, I wanted to follow my family's advice to secure a stable job and not worry about finances. On the other hand, I couldn't ignore the passion for cooking that my friends had ignited. That indecision and confusion haunted me every day. So how do you break through this? How do you avoid drowning in a sea of information and unclear advice? I found the answer when I began changing my approach. The first step was to envision my ideal future. I didn't just think about my current job. I dreamed about what I wanted to achieve in 5 or 10 years. I wanted financial freedom, I wanted to be in control of my work, and I wanted to live true to my passion. I didn't choose a career based on a simple piece of advice from someone, but based on a long-term vision. From there, I developed a reverse strategy. That is, I didn't just look at the end goal, but also analyzed the specific steps needed to achieve it. Next, I sought out someone with real-world experience, someone who could guide me in the right direction. I began searching for mentors, people who truly understood what I wanted to do. I learned that in business and finance, a good mentor can be the key to your success. These people don't just offer advice, they point out time-tested strategies. There's a saying I'll never forget: experience is the cheat code. That was said by Mr. Beast, one of the biggest content creators today. He said that having a teacher, a mentor, not only helps you avoid mistakes, but also shortens your path to success. When you have a guide, your steps become clearer and more confident than ever. But sometimes finding a mentor isn't enough. You also need to know how to master your own decision-making process. One of the biggest mistakes I made was overanalyzing, also known as analysis paralysis. When there's too much advice, it's easy to fall into a state of hesitation, unable to make clear decisions. I've been there. When I sought advice from too many people, I made this mistake because each person had their own perspective. Sometimes too much information just confuses and stops you from taking action. Think about Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook. He received a lot of conflicting advice during his career. When Facebook was just a small project at Harvard, many people advised him to quit and pursue a traditional education because no one believed a website like Facebook could succeed. However, Zuckerberg listened to himself and trusted his vision. He didn't let advice from others influence his decisions. Instead of overanalyzing, he took action and turned Facebook into the empire it is today. He had a clear strategy, trusted his creativity and himself, which helped him stay on course despite all the surrounding noise. In life, you'll encounter many people giving advice, from family, friends, to new acquaintances. But don't let those pieces of advice make you lose your way. Imagine your ideal future. Seek out those with real-world experience to guide you and avoid overanalyzing. Only then can you walk confidently on the financial path, take control of your life, and achieve the things you want. 2. Paying for the glamour. In this life, we are often drawn to things that are shiny, glamorous, and associated with success and wealth. Have you ever been like me, standing in front of a Rolex watch or a luxury Louis Vuitton bag and felt the urge to spend a significant sum of money just to own them? I've been there, and it was not an easy decision. But you know, sometimes we simply want to validate our self-worth through expensive items, even when we don't truly need them. At that time, I had saved up a decent amount, around $1,200, and thought to myself, this should be enough for a Louis Vuitton bag. It seemed like a reasonable decision, right? But after spending all that money on a $3,000 bag, I began to realize one thing. I had paid a steep price for glamour. We are often mesmerized by luxury items, not because they hold real practical value, but because they provide a special feeling. Items like Rolex watches or Louis Vuitton bags aren't just products. They are symbols of social status. They make their owners feel confident and can even serve as a way to show off success to others. But is it truly necessary to spend such a large sum to achieve that? We live in a society where personal image is often judged based on expensive possessions. I remember a friend of mine, after buying an expensive Louis Vuitton bag, shared how much more confident they felt when stepping outside. And I thought, don't we all have moments like that? When we purchase a luxury item, we aren't just spending money on a product. We're investing in positive emotions, in the short-term joy that the item brings. However, what's worth reflecting on is whether these positive emotions are enough to justify the excessive spending. Are we paying too much just to feel glamorous for a moment, only to return to emptiness afterward? When faced with the temptation of spending on glamorous things, I learned a valuable lesson. First, always consider the real value of the item. Is that Louis Vuitton bag truly necessary in your life? Will that Rolex watch help you work more efficiently, or is it just a status symbol? The answer is not always clear, but I realized that sometimes what we need isn't luxury items, but an investment in ourselves, in knowledge, skills, and opportunities that help us grow. When emotions outweigh reason, when you want to celebrate a small achievement or feel more confident in others' eyes, I still advise you to spend, but do so in moderation. Treat yourself to a luxury item if you must. It can be a way to express success. But the important thing is knowing your limits. You can buy an expensive bag, but remember that the money you spend is money you could invest in other opportunities, things that could help you grow long-term. One question I always ask myself before spending is this money worth investing? This question not only helps me avoid impulsive spending decisions, but it also helps me become more mindful of using my money wisely and strategically. For example, instead of spending on luxury items, I could invest in skill development courses or save for future investment opportunities. Take a look at Warren Buffett, one of the most successful investors of all time. Despite being wealthy and famous, he is known for his frugal lifestyle. He lives in a simple home and never buys luxury items or flaunts his wealth. This doesn't mean he can't spend money on expensive things, but he knows how to manage his finances wisely and sustainably. Buffett always asks himself, will this item provide long-term value for me? And that's why he's able to accumulate such a massive fortune without spending on glamour. Life doesn't always require shiny objects to measure your worth. Think carefully before you spend, and always ask yourself if the money you're about to spend is truly worth it. If positive emotions urge you, feel free to indulge, but do so in a controlled way. And remember, the things you own are not the sole measure of success or happiness. Invest in what provides long-term value, opportunities that help you grow and become the best version of yourself. Only then will you truly feel satisfied with your financial decisions. 3. The Dunning-Kruger effect, false confidence. One of the most important lessons I've learned on my personal development journey is recognizing the trap of false confidence that many, including myself, have fallen into. You've probably heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect, a phenomenon where people with little knowledge overestimate their abilities. It's a common issue in investing and in many other areas. Have you ever experienced this? When you've had a few successful investments and you start to think you're an expert. That's exactly when you're under the influence of the Dunning-Kruger effect without realizing it. Initial small successes can make us feel like we understand everything, that we've mastered the rules of the game. But in reality, our knowledge is still very limited. I remember when I first started investing, I fell into this trap. After a few successful trades, I began to think I had a firm grasp on the market, that I knew all the investment secrets. But it wasn't until I suffered a large loss and realized I couldn't predict the market correctly that I saw the harsh truth. I was only just beginning, and there was so much more to learn. The most important lesson I've learned through this journey is that recognizing my ignorance is the first step toward growth. Admitting that I don't know enough and constantly questioning myself is a sign of maturity. If you look at Dunning-Kruger's Valley of Despair chart, it clearly shows the path of those striving to become experts. At first, when we don't know much, we feel incredibly confident. But as we gradually gain more knowledge, that confidence begins to decrease, because we realize how much more there is to learn. However, with time, this confidence will be rebuilt, but this time it will be grounded on a much stronger foundation. One person who comes to mind in this context is Elon Musk. He maintains an astonishing level of humility, even in areas where he has achieved incredible success. Musk never rests on his laurels. He's always seeking to learn more, always asking questions, and always doubting whether he knows enough. This mindset has helped him overcome enormous challenges and made companies like Tesla and SpaceX industry leaders. Remember, you cannot go far if you always think you know everything. You need to be aware of your limitations so you can address them and keep learning. If you're confident in what you know but unwilling to change, you'll remain stagnant. Don't let the Dunning-Kruger effect deceive you into thinking you've mastered everything. Every step forward in life requires humility and a clear understanding of your abilities. If you can accept that there's still so much to learn, that's when you truly begin the journey toward becoming an expert. Always ask yourself, do I know enough? And when you answer this honestly, you'll realize that humility is the key to unlocking the door to sustainable success. 4. Short-term thinking, the path to limited long-term success. Sometimes in life, we're easily tempted by quick and easy options. High-paying jobs, opportunities for fast money. They're all so alluring, right? But here's a truth that not many people recognize clearly. Just because you're making a lot of money doesn't mean you're growing and learning. This is especially true when you're chasing after short-term gains without considering the bigger picture for the future. Having faced many career challenges myself, I understand that feeling. When I was just starting out, I also thought that high-paying jobs were the key to success. The attractive offers from companies with outrageous salaries made me hesitate. The thrill of earning a high income right away was exciting. But over time, I realized I had reached a dead end with no further growth opportunities. The job might give me money, but it wasn't teaching me anything new, and it wasn't helping me develop my skills or deepen my understanding of the field. That's when I realized that while money may come quickly, your value doesn't grow unless you continue to learn. For example, a high-paying job that doesn't offer opportunities for growth or advancement will keep you stuck in one place. You won't be able to develop your skills or gain the experience needed to seize bigger opportunities. Such a job might give you immediate income, but it won't help you build a solid foundation for the future. You'll find yourself stagnant while bigger opportunities pass you by. Look at one of the greatest entrepreneurs of our time, Warren Buffett. Not only is he the wealthiest man in the world, but he's also the epitome of patience and long-term investment. Rather than seeking quick money-making opportunities, Buffett opts for sustainable investments. He patiently waits for the true value of the companies he invests in to grow over many years. His famous quote, "Money moves from the impatient to the patient," isn't just advice, it's a way of life. He understands that patience and a long-term vision are key to building lasting wealth. Like Buffett, when I look back at my journey, I realize that those hasty decisions and shallow moves in the past didn't lead to long-term development. Sure, I could have earned money quickly through certain jobs, but I wasn't learning anything new from them. That prevented me from growing and moving forward in my career. Like Warren Buffett, I've had to learn the art of patience and to choose opportunities that help me build sustainable value for the future. Instead of chasing quick money, I've learned to focus on selecting opportunities that will help me develop my value in the next 5 to 10 years. These jobs might not provide immediate high income, but they open doors for learning, skill improvement, and the accumulation of valuable experience. When you focus on personal development and knowledge accumulation, income will come naturally, and more importantly, you'll be building a solid foundation for your career in the future. This method isn't easy, but it will pay off in the long run. As Buffett said, money moves from the impatient to the patient. When you learn to be patient, you'll find that big successes and desirable incomes come from making the right decisions and staying committed to the path you've chosen. Remember, if you only focus on short-term income without considering the development of your value, you'll stay stuck in one place. True wealth and success don't come from shallow decisions, but from wise, patient choices that help you grow over the years. So, if you want to be truly successful, don't be tempted by the allure of short-term income. Learn to be patient, focus on building long-term value, and ask yourself, am I investing in myself and my future? Let your choices today lay the foundation for a prosperous and sustainable career tomorrow. 5. Buying too many liabilities. A short-term path to long-term loss. We all live in a world full of temptations, where the allure of luxury items can easily make us forget our long-term goals. When you can spend on expensive things like a luxury car or a lavish night out at a restaurant, it might feel like you're enjoying life. But few people realize that these things are liabilities. They drain your finances without providing any long-term value. We live in an era where owning expensive items like high-end cars, extravagant parties, or costly subscriptions is quite common. These things make us feel happy, but it's a happiness that fades quickly. You might own a fancy car, but remember, over time, its value will depreciate. Moreover, the maintenance costs, gas, and fees will keep draining your money with no lasting benefits. There are even cars that you only use a few times a month, yet they're costing you money every day. Another example is lavish dining or spending on services that you don't fully utilize. You might buy a premium TV subscription but never watch all the channels it offers. Your money just keeps flowing out with no return. All of these are liabilities, things that don't generate value or cash flow for you but only consume your resources. It's similar to owning a house that doesn't generate income, where you're constantly paying to maintain it without receiving anything in return. One of the most valuable lessons I've learned came from one of the most famous billionaires in the United States, Elon Musk. Musk doesn't spend money on luxuries like a fancy car or extravagant parties, even though he can certainly afford them. Instead, he focuses on building long-term wealth and value. For instance, he made substantial investments in companies like Tesla and SpaceX, companies that not only produce groundbreaking products but also generate a continuous flow of income. Musk always prioritizes investments that increase his financial value and help build a sustainable empire. On the other hand, those who spend money on depreciating assets like expensive cars or luxury goods fail to realize that they are investing in things that won't generate income in the future. Sure, you may feel proud owning those items, but true value comes from investing in assets that have the potential to appreciate over time. So, what's the solution here? Instead of spending money on things that could harm your finances, we need to prioritize purchasing assets, things that can generate cash flow. Investing in rental properties, stocks that pay dividends, or digital products like software and online courses are smart choices. These assets not only help you preserve your money, but also create a steady income stream, allowing you to accumulate wealth over time. Don't just focus on things that give you instant gratification. Instead, focus on building a sustainable investment portfolio. Invest in things that will pay off in the long term, like purchasing rental properties. When you own these kinds of assets, they work for you, generating income without requiring any additional effort on your part. A simple example is owning a rental property. You could receive rental payments every month without doing anything extra. This is very different from owning an expensive car, which merely helps you get from point A to point B without creating any lasting value. On the other hand, investments in income-generating assets can provide you with financial stability and help you achieve your long-term financial goals. Finally, I want to emphasize that owning luxury items isn't inherently bad. However, we need to differentiate between assets and liabilities. An asset is something that creates cash flow, increasing your financial value and providing long-term benefits. A liability is something that loses value over time without generating profit. If you want to build sustainable wealth, prioritize purchasing assets over liabilities. The small decisions you make today can lead to a significant difference in the future. Investing in assets will help you not only preserve, but also grow your wealth over time, opening the door to financial freedom and a prosperous life. 6. Relying on a single source of income, a roadblock to financial freedom. In life, many people believe that a steady job with a stable salary is the safe path to financial stability. But the reality is that relying on a single source of income, especially one that's tied to your hours worked, can be a major limitation to your financial freedom. I've been there myself, only having a fixed monthly income from my job, and it made me feel trapped in a cycle with no way out. When you depend solely on one source of income, your life gradually becomes limited by factors beyond your control. Your salary is fixed, and the only way to earn more is by working overtime. This not only burns up precious time, but also leads to unnecessary stress. You might think you're fine, but you'll never achieve true financial freedom. Your growth is stifled by the limits of that job. Especially if the job is time-based, you will never be able to break through or have control over your income. An interesting statistic reveals that 65% of millionaires around the world have at least 3 different sources of income. This means they don't just rely on the salary from their main job. They also tap into other income streams, such as businesses, investments, or content creation. When you have multiple sources of income, you not only protect your finances from unforeseen risks, but also increase your financial opportunities in the future. One notable example of diversifying income streams is Elon Musk. Not only is he the founder of Tesla and SpaceX, but he's also involved in numerous other ventures, from investing in startups to founding companies like The Boring Company and Neuralink. His income diversification has allowed him to not only maintain his wealth, but also expand it through various channels. Moreover, he isn't constrained by a fixed work schedule but creates opportunities for himself through creative strategies. Aside from Musk, another example is Robert Kiyosaki, the author of the famous book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Kiyosaki pointed out that one of the main reasons many people can't achieve financial freedom is that they only have one source of income. He advises investing in real estate, stocks, or digital products to create passive income while continuously working to build sustainable wealth. So, how can you break free from relying on a single source of income? The solution lies in seeking jobs with performance-based income models. For example, sales or entrepreneurship are great ways to earn based on the results you achieve. You no longer have to rely on working hours. You can control your income through your efforts. Another option is to build income through investments. You can start with small investments in the stock market, real estate, or creative projects. Investing not only helps you generate passive income, but also increases your wealth over time. For example, if you invest in shares of a promising company, you could receive annual dividends without having to do anything else. Another effective method I found is content creation and developing digital products. If you have writing, graphic design, or video production skills, you can start creating digital products, such as ebooks, online courses, or tutorial videos. These products can be sold multiple times, generating steady income without needing to work directly every day. When you rely on just one source of income, you get stuck in a closed loop that's hard to escape. However, when you expand and create multiple income streams, you not only protect yourself from financial risks, but also create opportunities to increase your earnings and build long-term wealth. Don't let a fixed job hold you back. Find other ways to take control of your finances and expand your opportunities. When you start thinking big and diversifying your income, you'll find that financial freedom is no longer a distant dream. 7. Stepping out of your comfort zone. How to grow beyond your limits. Have you ever felt like you were stuck in a so-called comfort zone, thinking it was stable and secure? I have too, until I realized that living in this comfort zone was actually limiting my opportunities for growth. Don't let fear or hesitation pull you back to what feels like retreat. Step out of your comfort zone, embrace challenges, and explore new opportunities. That's the lesson I learned from my entrepreneurial journey. When I first started my entrepreneurial path, I, like many others, felt the safety of my previous job. It's probably what many think about when standing at a career crossroads, a stable job with a steady paycheck. But in reality, it was these very things that were holding me back. I recognized this clearly when I was still working for someone else. Every day felt like an endless cycle. Though I had a pretty good job, I knew deep down I wasn't tapping into my full potential. I began my entrepreneurial venture while still holding on to my old job. And people around me kept saying, "Don't take risks, just stay stable, don't leave your current job." But I bravely decided to try. It wasn't easy, not by a long shot. One of the first major challenges was when my company prohibited me from engaging in entrepreneurial activities, including developing my app. I felt trapped, like I was suffocating in a box, unable to breathe. But instead of giving up, I decided to look for another way forward. After being forbidden from developing my app, I didn't choose to stop. I decided to do something different. That's when I started thinking about creating posters and print products to sell. I had to negotiate with printers, learn how to manage products, and master the art of sales negotiation to sell effectively. Every step was a challenge, and I realized there was no growth without facing difficulties. You might wonder, why not just continue doing the job without the worry? But it was precisely those challenging steps that made me realize that every failure was a valuable lesson, and only by facing them could I truly grow. I learned so much along the way, from building a small business to developing essential sales, communication, and negotiation skills. Then a new opportunity came along. I decided to try my hand at YouTube and TikTok. Though I had never made a video before, I bravely stepped in. My first videos were far from perfect, even quite clumsy. But instead of blaming myself, I committed to improve every day. Learning and constantly refining my skills was the only way I could build an audience and grow my channels. From all these challenges, I realized that the biggest change you can make in your life is daring to step out of your comfort zone. If you're always afraid of risks and hesitant to learn new skills, you'll remain trapped in a repetitive cycle where you can only live in temporary safety. But when you face challenges head-on, you'll uncover potential you never imagined. Thank you so much for investing your time in watching this video. I truly hope the 7 financial traps we've uncovered will empower you to rethink your spending habits and take confident steps toward lasting wealth. Your continued interest and support fuels my passion to deliver deep insights and actionable money tips. Remember, avoiding these traps can set you on a path to genuine financial freedom. I encourage you to put these strategies into practice and watch your financial situation transform. Thank you again for being here, and I look forward to sharing more valuable content with you in the next video.